Welcome to Vacation Rental Mastery, where your host, Karan Narang, guides you through harnessing vacation rental investments. Whether you're new to vacation rentals or expanding your portfolio, this podcast fuels your path to freedom. Join us in this movement to transform your life. Ready for change and legacy building? You're in the right place. Let's embark on this freedom journey and master vacation rental investing together.
Hey, Wayne, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of the podcast. I really appreciate you coming on and to chat about short-term rentals. So, Wayne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, great. Yeah, my name's Wayne McCaffrey. I live in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I'm a serial entrepreneur, own a couple of small business, insulation company, parking lot striping company, coating company, and got into real estate, got the real estate bug probably about 15 years ago, and bought some foreclosures, flipped some houses, and then partnered up with my two current partners here about 3 years ago. And so we do anywhere from 5 to 10 flips a year. We started a construction company where we're building spec houses. We build about 10 to 15 of those a year. We also do some raw land flipping. And I have a rental property that I decided to turn into a short-term rental about a year and a half or so ago. I've been working on that, and I am within a month or month and a half of getting that short-term rental online. So that was one of the reasons why I was interested in the call, because I'm definitely a newbie in the short-term rental space, not really a newbie in real estate. I have a bunch of long-term rentals, so kind of familiar a little bit with the real estate part of it, but not necessarily the short-term operations part of it.
Awesome. Wayne, looks like you're doing a lot of stuff in real estate. What were you doing prior to this?
Well, like I said, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I've got a couple of small businesses, but actually, my education is in medicine. I used to do nuclear medicine cardiac scans,
There you
and
go.
I managed a cardiology practice for a number of years in upstate New York. So,
Okay, awesome. So a huge shift, and so it looks like you shifted pretty much all into real estate since. Big change, right? What made you make
big
that change?
change.
Why? Why did you do it?
Um, I, I, um, I never liked the 9 to 5. I never liked punching the clock. And I first stepped off into my small businesses, which, anybody who runs a small business is a small business. They don't necessarily punch a clock. It's just 24 hours a day. Um, and what I found is the real estate gave me a little bit more freedom, as far as being able to control what I do during the day. Running my businesses still takes up a lot of my time,
Yeah.
but I'm in the process now of getting some people in place to replace me in my insulation business. Working on that really hard right now. And the real estate portion of our portfolio, it's a lot more passive. Even our construction
Yeah.
part is a lot more passive. We have a GC in place. I have a couple partners, so we all um, we all bring a different strength to our partnership. So it's really good the way that it works, and it really does feel like it's 33% or less, as far as the work that I have to put into the real estate side of that.
And you know what's amazing is the first time someone uses the word freedom on the podcast, I absolutely have to explain this because that's the theme of the podcast. Okay, I wait for people to use that term. So the podcast is all about people achieving the 5 freedoms through real estate. Okay, the 5 freedoms are financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, relational freedom, and impact freedom. Okay, so when you think about this, put yourself in those shoes and think about whether real estate's really made you or gotten you to that point. Like you just mentioned, you got businesses, but the real estate allows you or gives you more time. It's obviously got you
That's great.
financial freedom because guess what you're doing right now? You're not in that clinic, you're not in that hospital, you're not doing your doctor job, right? Because you're hopefully financially free. Location freedom. Care to tell our audience where you're sitting right now?
Sure. I'm sitting at the local county courthouse steps, waiting for a foreclosure sale.
There
So
you
I'm sitting
go.
in the
So
car waiting
location
on it.
freedom.
So
We're having this conversation from your car, right?
that's
Again,
right.
not in your
That's right.
office. Relational freedom. You chose to speak with me today because it's a choice you can make. You
That's correct.
have the option to make that choice. You choose to work with your partners because you bring complementary skills to each other.
That's
You do
correct.
not need to be in that office right now having a meeting with the guys who push your buttons and trigger your negative energies every time you meet them because you have a choice of making the relationships personally and professionally that you really want to.
That's right. Absolutely.
Impact freedom. Hey, you're out there making an impact in your community by doing flips. You're adding value to properties that are run down possibly, properties are not good. You're adding value every single day. That's the impact you're making to the community, right? End of the day,
That's
because
right.
you're flipping the homes, there's an impact, and you're choosing to make that impact, right? So I try to help people understand how short my path of picking short-term rentals is what let me make or get those freedoms, right? Financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, relational freedom, and impact freedom. This is what makes or breaks people's lives. It fulfills people or not. This is why 90% of people will quit their jobs and do something that they don't want to do. This is why 90% of people will take a pay cut. Most times, when people need to trade time for money, eventually it catches up to them and it basically forces them to give up the money to go back and select choice or choose their time again. And so congratulations, you made that choice, you're already there and you're doing some amazing stuff. That's absolutely spectacular. Okay, so congratulations
Absolutely.
on that.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. One of the sayings I like to talk about whenever we're talking about real estate is it's not easy,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. But it's worth it. It's not
A hundred
easy, but it's
percent.
definitely worth it.
100%. Nothing that is easy. Usually the things that are easy are temporary and not worth it, right?
Right.
So you have to, people think, oh, you know what, I'm going to invest in real estate. It's easy. I'm going to just put my money here. I'm going to put it, in all these different things, and I'm going to make all this money. 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be in a world of pain, right? So you're putting in the grind, you're putting the work, you're putting in the effort. Absolutely spectacular. So hats off to you, man. I'll tell you again, these are the kind of people, you're the kind of people I love having on this podcast because it shows people the real life. This is what investing in real estate means, and this is what it can do to you. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So tell me
Absolutely.
this. I'm very curious. You're doing all this stuff in real estate. Why short-term rental? Why did you decide to convert one unit to a short-term rental? What made you pivot, man? You're doing so good in everything else.
Well, just like anybody else, sometimes we get shiny object syndrome of a sort.
Yeah,
But what really pushed me is my wife. She wants to do it, because I told her, I was like, I don't know that I have the capacity to take on managing these short-term rentals,
yeah,
because of the all the other things I have in place. My wife does all our interior design on our
yeah.
houses and things like that. She's really good at it. So she actually wanted to build a brand of short-term rentals because we like to vacation, we like to go different places. And so I told her the deal that I made with her was I've got a great house. This house, when I purchased it, originally it was a 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath house, but they had added on to the house just these great big rooms. So basically, I had a 2,200 square foot house that had 3 bedrooms and 1.5 baths.
Okay.
So the good thing about it was that I said, well, in order to do this, we're going to have to do a lot of work. It wasn't just like a paint and
Yeah. You went mute, buddy. Can you hear me? Hey, Wayne. Wayne.
then we would definitely look
Sorry,
at.
Hey, Wayne. I lost about a minute there. I couldn't hear
Sorry.
you at all for like a minute.
Okay, gotcha, brother.
No, it's all
Let's see
good.
if
So
I can
yeah,
get.
you were right after you said that it wasn't just a paint job. There was a lot of work in it.
Okay, right after I said what, brother?
After you said it wasn't just a paint job on the renovation, and there was a lot of work to be done.
Right. So there was a lot of work to be done to that house, and I told her this would be a great opportunity for you to start from scratch and make this a model for what you want this brand to be. And
Yep.
she wants to call the brand the Jade Stay. I told her that if she did well here locally, then we would reach out and go to some other, more desirable locations. We're water people, so we really love being by
Yeah.
the beach.
Yeah.
And I told her I'd love to, purchase something that she could do the short term rental Jade Stay brand in a different location. So of that's kind of what it came down to. My wife really wanted to do it, and of course, I have the background in the real estate, and I actually had a house that was perfect for her to set up and do.
No, that's absolutely, a great idea to test the waters. Now, again, remember your wife is always right. Um,
Absolutely.
So I don't know what it is. Every time I don't agree with my wife on something, I'm usually wrong. And they just have this instinct. They got this gut, this instinct, and this willingness to go do things that are not comfortable for us. Now, my best performing property was my wife's idea. She found it, or she basically pushed me to look in that area. And I kept saying, yeah, you know what, it's not going to do well and all this stuff. And this one night we go to bed having this discussion. I wake up in the morning really early and I'm like, man, she's been on my case about this for a long time because I'm looking at properties here and there and everywhere else and I'm searching for things. And she's like, why don't we look here? It's in our backyard, whatever. It's 3 hours from here. And I was honestly a little annoyed that we keep going back to the same discussion. I look it up, I find it, we see it, we get it on the contract, we're crushing it. So she'll never let me forget that. But that, hey, you know
Awesome.
what? I've learned that I need to listen to her more. So if your wife's
Right.
feeling it about this, she's probably right, right? So
That's right. That's
let me
right.
let me tell you a little bit about my background, right? I did exactly that. 4 years ago, we decided to get into short-term rentals, and I come from a deep consulting background, right? Pharmaceutical supply chain background, and I've always been about processes, systems, and the team that we put around it, right? So when we got our first short-term rental, we said we're going to put all the systems and processes in place. By the time we got to our third short-term rental, I'd already hired my first VA. From day one, we built a brand. Actually, if you look at my coffee mug right here, it'll say, oh, well, you can't see it. It'll say Adventure Awaits, right? Because that's the brand. The brand that we're working on is Adventure Awaits. And if you go to our website, aastays.com, you'll see our properties and the branding and all that stuff. We have a Facebook page, we have Instagram, we're doing all that stuff. We've got a full time marketing person who's churning our marketing stuff. We're actually upping our marketing game. So the whole idea was to build this brand from day one, right? And we've chased that so hard. I mean, we're finally starting to see the results. We get about 20 to 25% direct bookings right now. So I've done exactly what you're talking about, what your wife wants to do, which is build a brand and expand, right? So absolutely possible. 3 years from today, you could easily have that. So yeah, you know what? I don't doubt that's a possibility, and especially if she enjoys it and is going to have a good time doing it, great. It's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that she will. She's definitely absorbing all the nuances to getting this thing ready. So
Yeah. One of the things that I'll add, and it's very surprising you told me this. You said it's taken you over a year to get it ready. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I see most often with people is when they buy their short-term rental, they take way too long to get it ready. Now, in your case, it may be a different thing because of the amount of rehab and all this stuff, but there's a lot of people who will buy near turnkey properties, which just need a coat of paint, maybe some, changing out some fixtures, whatever, put in some furniture, and they take 3 months, 6 months to get it ready. What we've always done, what we try to do every single time is when I close on a property, I want to have it cash flowing before the first mortgage payment is due, which typically can be as long as 60 days. As you know, you skip a month when you close, right?
Right.
Unless it's a big renovation job, then that's a different topic. But I find people take too long. And honestly, yeah, once it starts cash flowing, you're going to start making money. You've lost all of that additional cash flow for like a couple years worth of cash flow by sitting on the property for 60, 90, 120 days because you just paid two mortgage payments that had zero cash flow from it, right? So that speed to getting things up and running is absolutely critical. In your case, you're already there, you're almost there at the finish line. What I'm going to urge you to
Yeah.
think about, if you're looking to build this brand, I'm going to urge you to focus on putting in those systems and processes in place on day one, because that's what's going to help you scale. We're still using the same systems and processes we put in place on day one, and we've scaled to 9 properties of our own and 20 properties total under management because we're also managing for others right now. So
Awesome.
get the foundation right, get the systems right, and build this from there, scale up. Much easier than having 3 properties and then saying, let's go put this in a system and do all this stuff. It starts to get a little complicated. But, if that vision is there to build this into something bigger, start day one.
Yeah, that's actually great advice. And that's one of the things that I want to make sure that we do,
Yeah,
because I did not do that with my businesses.
yeah,
I started these businesses, just because I needed the income, right?
yeah,
And I didn't take the time to put the systems and
yeah,
processes in place. And I'm actually paying for that now because it's much harder
correct.
to bring someone in to run your business if you don't have a playbook for them to
No,
use.
100%.
So definitely that's what we're looking for with this first short-term rental, is to make sure we put those processes and systems in place in the very beginning. And just a little side note, though, one of the reasons why it took me a little bit to get this property going is I actually purchased the property several years ago and used it as a long-term rental for a little bit. And because I'm at max capacity with a lot of other things that I have
Yeah,
going on,
yeah.
sometimes my own projects kind of get put on the back burner a little bit. So this one got put on the back burner a little bit. Definitely something that I should not have done, but fortunately, I'd actually the cost of this property and then what I've got in rents, actually I own the property free and clear. So I am missing out on that revenue. But fortunately, the only thing I'm having to come out of pocket for is my property taxes and insurance during that time. So I didn't have a large mortgage payment kind of hammering me every month, which on one hand, that may have been a good thing because that would have put a little bit more expediency under me.
Hey,
But because it was just the property tax and the
I
insurance,
will
it
take
wasn't as big of a deal. So,
I will take a property held free and clear all day long versus the pressure. So, you know what? Here's the way I look at it. Once you start cash flowing this property, you're going to cash flow like a bandit. So, you know what?
yeah,
You got that to look
right,
forward to, right? So, yeah,
right.
it is a great time for you to really think about, how those systems and processes will be put in place. It was the foundation for us to be able to scale our business. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And look at it this way. This is additional supplemental fuel to grow your businesses. You're a serial entrepreneur, right? You've sounds like you've achieved those freedoms in life.
Yeah,
So you know what?
absolutely.
take it. This is what you use to elevate things to the next level. And, congratulations on that. I really, really think you've done a spectacular job. And I think there's only one way to go from here, and which is up. So awesome. Thank you very much. Any other things or topics that you'd like to talk about from a short-term rental perspective? Anything that you feel like, hey, I need to get an answer now that, will set me on the right path.
Well, I think the big thing, or I guess the biggest question that I would have would be, what are some really good resources that you found? Whether it be podcasts, websites, that sort of thing in the short-term rental space. Because right now, because we're doing a podcast, and I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah,
It's almost like information overload, so to
yeah.
speak. You can get so many different answers from so many different people, and what I found is, obviously there's going to be some things that work just for you or that work just for me, but it's good to get someone who's been in the industry and's been through the ups and downs, managing their own short-term rentals, managing short-term rentals for other people. I mean, it's kind of like you cut through the initial BS of some of the, just fly
Hmm.
by night guys. So I guess that's my biggest question, is like, if you had it all to do over again at this point, because you've probably narrowed it down,
Yeah.
what would be some of the greatest resources that someone starting out with a short-term rental um,
What,
could find some information?
so because you mentioned podcasts, I'm going to give you a good one of my favorites, and I believe they also have a book. It's called Get Paid for Your Pad.
Hmm.
It
Get
is
paid
one
for
of
your
my
pad.
favorite podcasts to listen to on this topic. They have a lot of valuable information. In addition to that, the Short Term Shop, have you heard of them before?
I have. That's
Yeah.
Avery Carl. Yeah.
Avery Carl, she's got a good podcast that I've actually spoken at a couple times, on that podcast. It is a good one as well. And then there is a Facebook group, Build Short Term Rental Wealth. That's also really good. Very open,
Right.
very low restriction. People post all kinds of stuff and lots of learnings. So there's a number of different resources. Now the challenge, by the way, just so you know, because the short-term rental space has gotten wild in the last few years, there's a lot of information to filter through, right?
Right.
So
Right.
a lot of due diligence, a lot of time and immersion in the topic is absolutely necessary, right?
Right.
What I will also mention is that, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, when I was getting into this, just so you know, I'll give you this frame of reference. I tried asking people for help. I did not have anyone kind of spell out to me how this stuff would work, right? And I lost out a really good deal. Truly cost me seven figures. Big
Oh,
deal. Lost in property and taxes and all kinds of stuff. When I sum up all my losses, was seven figures, right? Someday we'll discuss about that whole story, but it led me to, it actually put me on this mission to basically do this. The reason I'm doing this podcast is so that I can tell people, listen, don't, filter out the noise, make sure you can get the information, find the right resources to get the help. And I said, nobody helped me when I started my journey, and I'm going to try and make as big of an impact as I can, because there's a lot of people. If I had started that journey 2 years sooner than I did, I'd be in a different place altogether. Maybe I would have quit my job 2 years ago, right? I quit it on December 31st, right? 2020.
oh,
Yeah,
congratulations.
so
Awesome.
it's been a couple months since I quit my job, and it's been absolutely liberating. So
Awesome.
my mission is to help people as much as possible. I will also put it out there that if your wife or yourself looking for coaching and mentorship, I do offer that as well. I've coached about 40 people in the last 3 years. A lot of them went on to be very successful at owning, managing, and operating their short-term rentals. So I'm happy to help you out there if you'd like. So yeah, find the right resources. I gave you a couple resources that you can lean on. If you need
Sure.
someone, and I always believe that a coach or a mentor helps you convert decades into days, right? That's what it is, right?
Sure.
Accelerating
Yeah,
the learning, cutting
absolutely.
through the noise. There's a lot of noise out there. Yeah, and if you can cut through it and accelerate what you're doing to truly scale, it's a game changer. So again, I'm happy to jump in and help if that's what you need. Not everybody needs it. There's people out there who are very capable of just going through all of it and filtering out all the important stuff and implementing it. So there's way more resources today than have ever been in this space. So yeah, by all means, give it a shot, give it a try. Lots of resources there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Absolutely. I appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome. Perfect, man. Thank you very much for joining me on this podcast. It's been really nice to talk to you. Really good to see that there's another entrepreneur out there who's achieved these freedoms. That's absolutely spectacular. I wish you the best, and I wish you the best for this property that you're about to buy. Sending you positive vibes on getting this foreclosure, man, at the price you wanted. So, congratulations again on achieving the dream, and I hope we are together able to impact people's lives and help them understand what can be done, right? So thank you again
Awesome.
for
Thank
being
you for
here.
joining us on Vacation Rental Mastery. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in for our next episode, where the journey to financial freedom and lifestyle flexibility continues. Here's to your success in the exciting world of vacation rentals.